First, for those of you who are new, welcome to the Dallas Meditation Center. Our core gathering is inspired by Thich Nhat Hanh's Buddhist tradition. I'd like to reiterate that. And Brother Chisting is the founder of Dallas Meditation Center, and his vision was to bring mindfulness and meditation practice to people of all faith and non-faith. So please know that you're welcomed wherever you are or however you are navigating your life journey and journey of finding deeper meanings and connections. And I wanted to give a little self-introduction because sometimes I take it for granted that many of you know me and just like, let's just get right into it. Let's just talk. But I think it's good to just kind of share where I'm coming from. So I'm a center director, honored to be serving as a center director. And I offered myself previously just as a yoga teacher, translator, and creative writing instructor. So I'm all about words and meaning and like, let's take them apart and discuss. And I let these past experiences guide me as I learn from you. I think of it as kind of a convergence of what I learned here and now with what I've learned so far. So that is to say, I'm so glad you're here and I learned so much from you, from your share, if you're willing. So I wanted to express my thank you in advance. And I also like to reiterate that my intention for my talks, my primary intention is to create space for us to reflect, share, and connect. I mean, I'm a talker. I could be talking for an hour and just like, these are interesting. But for this talk, I'm here to connect with you and learn from you. And hope to create connection between you guys. And you might think, I just meditated, I'm feeling good. Why are we doing this part? And I love this part personally, but let me share what I see. Mindful dialogue brings a new level of mindfulness to our awareness. It opens our eyes to see other possibilities than our current perspective, because we all have different experiences, we all have different lessons. Through the conversation, we learn from each other and our vision broadens. And I also believe that mindful dialogue gives us a nice feel for a change, because when you learn that people have been having different experiences and affirm some of your experience, that can help you to make some mindful change instead of repeating the same way of being. So this is a really fertile ground. And I let the world choose the topic, and this weekend is graduation weekend for many. And it's a rich topic, so rich, graduation. So I hope you share, you hear this intention and find it interesting. My intention is that we enjoy reflecting on different chapters of our lives, what graduation and continuation means to us together. So if you haven't noticed all this, yay, graduates, cards, and I mean, just stepping into Tom Thumb across the street, you will see all this, it's in the air, graduation season. So here's my warm-up question. What comes to your mind when you hear graduation season? What have you been seeing recently related to graduation, and how does that make you feel? And I like to answer my own questions to kind of be an icebreaker. And know that whenever I ask a question, I come with no expectation. I know everybody has a unique take. If you feel like it's a leading question, I don't intend that. Just share what you're willing to, what comes from your heart. When I hear the graduation season, I realize, like, I think people graduating now are born in 2000s. And that makes my jaw drop. Like, some people are making face like that can be true, but it is true. It's 2024, right? And that makes me think, oh man, when I graduated, like I was still, anyway, let me not digress. So what it makes me feel is, oh, what have I done with my life? So that comes to my mind. And we have a lot of people here. I'm so happy to see full room. I'll take like 3 shares maximum for the sake of time. If you'd like to share response to this question, you can bow, say your name, say your share, bow out, so we can give you full attention. And I'll open the space.
Jake Bellingham. For a long time, hearing about other people's graduation brought a sense of shame to me. I'm kind of past it now, because I've just never been a very good student. Sitting down in a classroom has always been a struggle for me, just being able to listen. I've tried college, I've been in and out. And as my friends and peers, kind of saw them kind of move along and move up in the world, where I was kind of stuck in the same place for a really long period of time. As I was kind of changing my mind about what I wanted to do, it was, for a long time, it was hard. And now, like we say, with people in the 2000s, much younger than me, I was just talking to my sister yesterday about it. I'm 30, she's like 4 years older than I am, and she's working with peers. She just got a new job, and people there are born in the 2000s. So it's funny thinking about the passage of time. The good thing is I've reached a point where I'm okay with the fact that I didn't go the route that a lot of people went. So I didn't have a graduation ceremony, but I'm kind of at the point where I didn't really need it to do what I'm doing now. But yeah, for a long time it was shame. I've reached a point of peace with it.
Thank you.
Paul again. I like this. I like this question. You talked about Easter, whenever it was Easter, and I'm kind of noticing the contrast for me, because it's like usually I'm unaware that it's Easter. It's kind of like, oh, is that the day? I don't know. But I like graduation season because it's like sometimes I get messages from students that I've been working with, and sometimes there's students I haven't seen for like maybe a couple years. And they're like, hey, just reaching out, so-and-so, it's offered from the mother, right? So-and-so graduated this weekend from such and such college or whatever, and it's like, thanks so much for your help. It was like important. So it's really gratifying to kind of get these messages occasionally about like, oh, okay, my work actually kind of does mean something, and it helps people, and they're grateful for it. And it's like nice to kind of know that it's not just for money, but it's really like in service to help other people. So yeah, it's a fun time of year for me. And also, it's like I go from really, really busy to like no work, which is kind of good and bad. But by this time of year, I'm usually ready for a little bit of a break, so that's good.
Thank you, Paul. And while I have your attention, do you mind grabbing my green water bottle by the cushion? I just realized I'm so thirsty. Graduation season also warms up. I know some graduation ceremonies were low brutal. Thank you so much. One more person, if anybody wants to share.
Sure, Weldon, knowing you. I was reflecting on my own graduation experiences, and it always seemed like for a long time in my life I was graduating from this school and starting this school, and I was graduating from this school and starting this school, and I was graduating from that school and starting a profession. And it seemed like at every sort of stop along the way, it wasn't like terribly mindful moving from one transition. It was more like I just jumped off a roof and I'm kind of hoping everything is okay when I land. And so I guess when I see the fresh faces or I get the cards requesting $100, no, they don't specifically request $100, but when I get the, oh, hey, my graduation is coming, I kind of wonder whether people got that same sort of breathless feeling that I got on every transition, that it didn't feel terribly mindful. It felt like, here goes. That comes to my mind when I think about
Thank you everyone for sharing, and everybody who hopefully you're enjoying reflecting with his shares. And yeah, as well as that, like sometimes graduation can feel not terribly mindful, and as at least how the world expects and what comes with it. More on that a little later. And here, as a community of mindfulness, we celebrate mindfulness because it allows us to see complexity. There's a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh: "When we are mindful, deeply in touch with the present moment, our understanding of what is going on deepens." And Thai, that's a nickname for Thich Nhat Hanh, for those of you who don't know, calls this looking deeply practice. So let's look deeply at the word. This is what creative writing and like poetry person like loves doing. Let's talk about word. Just one word. The word graduation comes from the Latin word, I don't speak Latin correctly, graduatus, which means graduated. Graduatus comes from gratis, which means step. Gratis can also figuratively mean a step towards something or a degree of something rising by stages. I offer this definition to reflect on some discrepancy between the intended meaning of the word and how we often use the word in conventional sense. So emphasis on a degree of something rising by stages. I need to pose a question for us to kind of like listen to our inner answer. Do we recognize this very like gradualness of change in the word graduation as it's meant to be versus when you hear graduation, does it feel gradual to you? Some smiles. I don't know what that means. I see some smiles. My personal experience of graduation wasn't so. It almost felt like it was jumping off the roof. It's like, whoa, I have to enter a whole new world, whole new routine, whole new expectations. So much change. And I am an immigrant. And for me, right before graduation, I had to frantically search for a way to renew my visa. Like, is the next school gonna give me that? Is the next job gonna give me that? And I have limited time before I'm asked to leave. So let's look deeply at graduation season as a collective experience. As a community of mindful friends, we acknowledge all facets of any given experience. And there is complexity in graduation season, a lot of activities, a lot of shifts. So I want to kind of create a space to reflect what does or did graduation, and here, this graduation doesn't have to mean college graduation. If what comes to your mind when you think of the word graduation as a turning of a chapter, you're welcome to reflect on that too. But this big shift, graduation, often brings change of identity. I was a student, now I'm not. Change of routine, I was taking 4 classes, and then now I'm not. Change of expectation. Are you gonna get a full-time job? Are you gonna do blah, blah, blah? Graduation, at least in this context, can bring a lot of change. So briefly reflecting on what kind of change was brought into your life when the chapter changed, when graduation of your definition happened. And although in mindfulness community, it's often, I hear the word habit being used in a negative way. It's like, we don't want to be stuck in habit. We want to be mindful and change and blah, blah, blah. But I just wanted to create a space to befriend our habit. One of the Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching I really adore, it's so simple, is that it says whenever you notice doing something kind of just out of habit, if you find yourself just kind of doing things in this, just doing things out of just routine, is that it encourages us to say, hello, habit energy. I was doing that thing again. I was leaving my key in the doorknob. Yes, hello, habit energy. And also, if you gaze deeply, I see my mom in it. So there's love there, love towards our habits. And humans are a creature of habits that helps us to save energy and time. If we know how to turn the key to start the car as a habit, this saves us our rent. Hello. So here, encouragement is to acknowledge that we are a creature of habits, and it's good to be anchored with our habit energies. We can choose to transform it, but that is not to say you have to change everything at all time and always be noticing every details. Because humans are creatures of habit, graduation of many forms, major shift, yes, can be an opportunity for change, but it can be also deeply destabilizing. And I'd like us to kind of extend compassion for all these young folks who'll be experiencing this major shifts, and compassion for our past self who experienced those destabilizing shifts. It's easy to be focusing on confetti, like, whoa, but we make space for all facets, all experience. So I wanted to kind of create more space to reflect here. What was your post-graduation experience like? What was the day after? What was even a few hours after, a year after? Like, what kind of dialogue that comes up between your loved ones or within yourself? Yeah, invitation to just kind of reflect. And if willing, let's actually take 3 shares. I'll open the space. I usually hold this sharing space for like 8 deep breaths, and if it's silence, I take that as a sign that what needs to be said out loud has been said out loud. So anybody, feel free to bow in, say your name, say your share, bow out, and I open the space to see what happens. That's you.
Really long. I think for me, thinking back on previous graduations, whether it's like a step graduation or gradual or just major change. I think what maybe I didn't do is maybe almost like this morning leaving what is not present anymore. And by not doing that, I also miss out on celebrating all of that as well. By not doing any of that, I think it is destabilizing a lot. Yeah, kind of like not acknowledging all this stuff that has happened, trying to keep going. So keep it.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. You were talking about how graduation doesn't necessarily have to mean like college graduation, kind of just a change or a transition in your life. And I was thinking about a conversation that I had with one of my friends not too long ago about Saturn return. And I'm not like an astrology person by any means, but I just thought it was an interesting conversation because he was talking about just kind of as we reach our 30s and like we kind of have this realization pop up of like something in our lives. He was talking about how he was having issues with his family, and him and his siblings were figuring out that their parents were narcissists and like how they were going to navigate that. And he was telling me, well, your Saturn return, and I'm not going to get too specific with myself here, but just like I was realizing that I had a lot of bad habits, and I know habit energy, and stuff like that. But it was really like facing that and acknowledging that, and working to tackle that and shift. And that's kind of around the time that I started coming here regularly and like started meditating as a more regular practice. And yeah, it's just kind of a transitional period in life with a realization and just acknowledging that something is going to change and life is getting going in another direction now. So yeah, that was just kind of my thought.
I think that comes to mind when I think about the process of step graduation is that at that age of my life, it felt like there was a lot of safety and stability in knowing what was right and wrong. And post-graduation, it's almost like I had bumper lanes in my bowling alley, and then I lost bumper lanes. And it was the first time in my life that I realized some of my experiences or things I wanted to do wouldn't be as legible or understandable to other people. And there was a lot of confusion around how to navigate, like, what do I want to do? When up until that point, I've been like, this is the path. Just roll the ball and see what happens, you know? So, yeah.
Thank you all for sharing and reflecting. Yeah, there's so many different types of experiences, but I'm appreciating that I wasn't alone in feeling destabilized, and also, yeah, that analogy was very helpful too. Yeah, so knowing that our individual experience is all part of this dialogue, I wanted to invite some reflections on how to stay put when a lot of change happens. This was kind of the questions that I've posed in this open way. So how do we take a steady next step when there's a huge shift happening? How do we steady ourselves and not let the fantasies take us too far away to the imagined future? I mean, that's what teachings of mindfulness often warns you, that if we are not careful, our mind has a tendency already to take us far away into the future and what it might be, what it should be. So how do we do that? How do we stay steady here and now when this, for whatever reason, or graduation changes the scene, changes, a huge change enters your life? How do we steady ourselves and not go to the future? And whenever there's a big transition happens, there's also a chance that regret can happen. Our mind can drift to the past also. And woulda, coulda, shoulda. Those can enter very easily, especially during the time of transition, because sometimes some transitions are in control and predictable, like graduation. Some are not. And my theory, pet theory, is that gives us a little more sense of control. If we were to say, oh, if I had done blank, I would be more prepared, or I would be more, that mind's movement, I do believe that it has purpose, but it can be difficult. And the unpredictability of future can also really stir up a lot. I was seeing some of this in Tuesday Sangha too, which we have a lot of younger folks, and we feel like we need to know the next thing now. Otherwise, what do we do? What is it that, what are we, you know? So here's where I want to invite in the concept of continuation, as in the continuation as defined in Plum Village definition. Like the word roots of the word graduate, Plum Village definition of continuation acknowledges that even when the change seems drastic, we are always on the continuum of life unfolding here and now. And I love that word. I like to remind myself of the word, that continuation, because the concept gives me patience with myself. Everything is in process, media, res. We are not meant to go from one chapter to another and have drastic transformation overnight. That's not how life works. And that's what the word continuation reminds me. Even the moment of big change, that is another fragment of present moment that we are experiencing. And I think of it as chemical reactions too. If you drop a little acid into basic solution, the change is happening gradually. Another image that I like is a snow globe. If you shake it up and then let it settle, it's all part of the process. Nothing is meant from, let me give you an example. Nobody's meant to go from like student to be like completely new idea of person who like, I don't know, full-time working, like perfect employee. Like it's not, we are not switching from one idea to another, but we're always on continuum wherever we are. So reminding ourselves of continuation. Even here, even now, what we are to focus on is here and now. And every aspect of the experience matters. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. That's what I like to remind myself as a big shift happen. So I wanted to create this space for small group connections. I'm really grateful for people who are courageous to share in big groups. I also see a lot of magic happening in small group conversation because there's something about connecting with people that are sitting next to you that brings a lot of intimacy. So the kind of question that I'd like to pose here is, I mean, these are options. Anything comes up, that's the right thing to come up. In a group of 3, I would say, feel free to share your post-graduation experience or any major shifts experience. What helped you stay grounded in here and now? The answer doesn't have to be meditation. Whatever that helped you to feel like, get the day, help you stay grounded as you make the gradual shift. What helped you? Because we all could use more resource and wisdom from one another. And the last question that I wanted to pose, many of us know, I mean, I'm not assuming, but many of us might know, people going through a big shift or graduation. How would you like to support them? Because as we acknowledge that transition can be difficult, even if it's celebratory occasions, how do we support them? So let's form a group of 3, including the facilitators. Yeah, feel free to just make eye contact, make it casual. If you don't want to share, if you don't want to be part of this group, please know that this is not mandatory. If you'd rather not, you can just kind of place your hand at your heart or close your eyes and not make eye contact, and people will get it. So let's feel free to move your seats, turn your chairs, turn your cushions to do so. Yeah, I really appreciate, even though I can't pick up everybody's like what they're saying, but the energy alone was just really lovely. Thank you for bringing your authentic self here and do what's right for you, including those of you who chose not to share and participate. I appreciate that. So I wanted to, let's see. Yeah, I'll leave it here for now, given the time. And I just wanted to extend my thank you, my gratitude. Once again, I learned something on a deeper level by hearing different experiences. the same word, the same season, like seemingly same. We live very differently, and I feel like they all teach you something, and how complex the world is. And that's, to me, enriching, and I appreciate you being here. And by you being here, you add your presence to the movement of looking deeply. We practiced it together. And hopefully of being compassionate too, because once we acknowledge the complexity of things, we don't shoot people as much, and that alone, I think of it as being compassionate. So here's my prayer for all of us. May we be patient with ourselves. May we be at ease. May we let it be. I'm bowing out here as a Dharma Talk speaker. Thank you.